Hi, everyone. Thanks so much for joining us here on the Daily Racing Form Weekend Preview. We are on site. You can tell in our hotel rooms here. I'm Gino Buccola alongside Alexa Zepp. Alexa, we're getting ready for a big weekend over at Pimlico. Today on this show, we're going to talk all about Pimlico's Friday card because it's a big day for the ladies. It's the Black-Eyed Susan, which is a big graded stakes race for the fillies. So that'll be the focus of our show today. We'll start with that in segment one. We'll also preview a really prestigious race called the Pimlico Special. It's also going to be run on Friday. These races are just a couple hours from now, so you don't have a whole lot of time, but we generally don't do a whole lot of Friday talk, so it's fun to be able to preview a couple races coming up in just a little bit.
Yeah, it is. It's such a big weekend. You know, the second jewel, the Triple Crown, is obviously tomorrow with the Preakness, but kind of like Oaks and Derby, there's two big days of racing here this weekend with Black-Eyed Susan and then Preakness Day.
And there are some wagers that connect the Black-Eyed Susan on Friday with the Preakness on Saturday. We're going to play one of those wagers in our final segment, the Preakness Black-Eyed Susan Daily Double. For all of you this weekend, there is a ton of information that we have for you. And all you need to do is scan the QR code on your screen right there. It'll take you to the free Preakness wagering guide where you'll get individual analysis for all the horses in the Preakness. You get full card selections. You get a bunch of different handicappers and gamblers and expert horse racing analysts giving you all the information for the Preakness and for Preakness Day. So wealth of information, and it's totally free. But Alexa, we have a lot of ground to cover. We have to get through this field for the Grade 2 Black-Eyed Susan. So let's head on over and meet this group. We start things out with Liam in the Dust. This one is multiple graded stakes placed. Actually finished second, though, last time at Keeneland in a race on a sloppy track. So a positive. We know that she can run on a sloppy track and run okay. She finished second there, but she did finish behind Paris Lily. So she's going to have to improve on that rival and try to turn the tables on her.
Yeah, you know, she's a horse that looks like she can run really well at high levels, like you're saying, is placed. It got second in the Pocahontas and then third in the Demoiselle, and the only horse to have tried this distance, 1 mile and an eighth, in the Demoiselle, which was her fastest performance. But like you said, she's lost to a couple common opponents. I thought, this race was really difficult. I thought I could have made a case for almost every horse in here.
They're not separated by a whole lot, right? The top to the bottom. There's just not a lot in between all of them.
Yeah, and there's likely going to be a pace duel in here. So for me, I'm passing on Liam in the Dust, but again, you can make a case for everybody.
Right next door, the number 2, Princess Leia. Wonder if they'll try to get her more towards the front early because she never got really involved in her last race in the 8 Bells on May the 2nd. But if you look at some of her better races, it's when she's been able to be pretty close early on. And if you're looking at like some of the speed figures that the Daily Racing Form uses, like the buyers and some of those, she has actually some of the better ones too, Alexa. So what do you think of her, Princess Leia?
My concern for her mainly is distance. The times that she's tried 1 mile and a 16th, which is a little bit shorter than today, she tired. I think it looks like 1 mile is kind of more her comfortable distance. The class is also a little bit tough for her. She, like you said, can run really fast numbers in races, but is a little bit inconsistent. And the 2 times that she's tried Grade 2 company, she kind of flopped. So for me, this looks like a pretty tough placing.
The number 3 is named Margie's Intention. I think she's just a really good fit in this race. Her form overall has been good. She's won 2 of her 5 starts. She's finished second in 2 other races. And both times when she ran second, she finished behind a horse named Blue Fire. You actually see Blue Fire in the running lines against Princess Leia. Blue Fire was second in a race called the 8 Bells. It's a really prestigious race that's run on Kentucky Oaks Day. I just think Margie's Intention is going to get a really good trip. Like, I liked everything about her. And then she's coming into the trainer Brad Cox barn for the first time, who's so good with moves just like this. Right, Alexa? I think you had a stat about how good Brad Cox was.
Yeah, when he has a horse going for the first out, the first time they're in their barn, he wins 41% of the time. So we talk about trainer win percentages a lot, and I think it's good to put that in context. So really anything over 20% is really pretty good, and the best of the best could get closer to 30% win rates when they're really on fire. And then that's just overall. And then we have these kind of like win percent angles for, when they're doing something. Maybe they're adding equipment, adding blinkers for the first time, or the first time a horse is entering their barn, like this case. And this is 41%, and it's also with a sample size of 69 horses, so it is statistically significant.
So if you see like a 3 for 10, sometimes you're like, okay, that's not the biggest sample size, so 30%. But when you see almost 40 and you're hitting at 40%, and when you wonder what the ROI is, that's the return on your investment. In horse racing, you have a $2 bet. So anything over $2 means you're churning a profit. And that is just a phenomenal number. If every time he takes a horse in his barn and moves to a dirt route, they've win at 41%. Incredible number, 275 ROI. Kind of, I'll give away some of the goodies here, Alexa. I just think she's going to sit a great trip. I made her my top pick in here.
Same.
Yep. We both like Margie. Right next door, Runnin' and Gunnin' is a stakes winner. She's grade 2 placed. She was in a good race last time out in the fantasy, but she was well defeated in that race when she finished 3rd. So I don't know how well she really ran. I'm a little cold on her in this spot. What do you think about Runnin' and Gunnin'?
So she was well defeated, but the horses that defeated her were Quiet Side and Simply Joking, who came back to run in the Kentucky Oaks. I mean, they didn't impress that much in the Kentucky Oaks, but it was the Kentucky Oaks. Her speed figures are improving and peaking. She gets Flavian Pratt aboard. Flavian Pratt rode her last out, is not aboard, is riding for Margie's Intention, so that is a negative. But I think she's classy. I actually think she's live in here, Gino. I have her as my second pick.
The number 5, Kinsey Queen. She's kind of a deeper closer. I wonder if she will get the setup, or even if she does she get the smooth trip that she needs? I will say she's coming off of some pretty decent efforts. That last race was very good at Oaklawn Park. What do you think about Kinsey Queen?
Okay, so Kinsey Queen is very interesting. This horse is peaking, but when has faced better horses has caved.
Right.
This last performance that you're looking at went 5 wide, is very eye-catching.
This was an awesome race.
Awesome race. So, like, if you're just going off of that, 100% I could see you playing her. But they've run this horse 4 times in the last, month and a half. They ran her 3 times in March. It seems like a lot to me, plus shipping out here. Running and Gunning beat her 2 back in the fantasy. I don't know. So I struggled because it's a great price at 10-1 or plus 1,000. But I don't know how much stock to put in that one really, really great performance.
Paris Lily is a most recent winner. She defeated Liam in the Dust, and she might be one of the quicker horses early in here.
Yeah, and she won in the slop last out, which is with a big improvement, and it's gonna rain today, everybody.
Yep.
And that's a big thing, right? Like,
major positive.
Yeah, major positive. So, I think she's kind of coming into her own. I don't want to leave her out, especially with the sloppy weather. I think she's a player.
Number 7, Reply, won her debut, and then in her second start, she finished a really good second. I don't have any knocks on those races. She's just going to have to step up a little bit, and because of her running style, she needs a little bit of help. That's what happened here. She was way out of it, and then she makes up a lot of ground late.
Yeah, she's a closer, which I think would be a plus in this field with the amount of speed in here, but then possibly a risk with the sloppy track. She might not like it. I don't think she's run on that surface before. She does have Brittany Russell's her trainer, is winning 30% of the time. She gets Irad Ortiz aboard. He's one of the best jockeys. This is a class test in a salty field, but I like her.
Amarth ran really, really well in the Busher, going a mile. And then in the Ashland last time, she just faced a really tough group. I mean, if you look at the top 4 finishers in there, if any one of those horses were in this race, they'd be favored.
Yeah, no, absolutely. That was a very tough race. I again, could make a case for any horse in here. I ended up leaving her out, but could definitely, I know you like her a lot. This is a tough race.
Yeah, I have her in the second spot, and we round things out with Moon Cash, who came off of a 3rd place finish. She was behind Reply. I don't have many knocks on her overall, Alexa. I just like other horses in here more.
Yeah, this is a local Maryland-bred horse who's run exclusively at Laurel Park. I really understand from an owner perspective putting her in here. She's probably eligible for some bonuses being a Maryland-bred. And even if she just places in a stakes like this, her value as a regional broodmare goes through the roof. So I think there's a lot of sense putting in her here, but I think it's a tough spot.
We can throw up selections as we go to the break for the Black Eyed Susan. When we return, we're going to talk Pimlico Special, race number 12 today on Friday. Welcome back to the Daily Racing Form weekend preview. We're going to go backwards a little bit from race 13 to race number 12 on Friday. Today, we're going to preview the Pimlico Special. And Alexa, this race was first run in 1937, and it was won by the Triple Crown winner of that year, War Admiral, who went on to be Horse of the Year. And I know a lot of people might know the name because they probably saw Seabiscuit, right? And that was his big rival in the movie there. So this has actually been one of the real prestigious races, and it's kind of gone up and down. A few years ago, it wasn't quite as quality, but in the last couple of years, we've had some really strong horses come back in it. One of them who won last year's race, Pyrenees, is actually in this race, but we heard, unfortunately, on Thursday, it looks like he's going to be scratched out of here. He was dealing with some small issues, so he won't be running. So you'll take actually the horse who was going to be the favorite out of the race and last year's winner. Let's start with the horse who's in really good form right now, Alexa. Phileas Fogg. I know you like this horse. I mean, it's hard to knock what he's done in his last 5 races or so, and he's won 8 of 16 lifetime. He's going to step up and face a tougher group, but this is when you step up, when you're in good form like this.
Yeah, I think he just really came into his element as a 4, now 5-year-old. Like you said, 1-4 out of the last 5. The one he lost was by a neck. All of the recent wins have been by big margins. The most recent was slightly longer distance than today's, but he's won going shorter too. His time from US early pace figure is a 126. So the one whole position draw probably wasn't exactly what they were hoping for. But if he gets a clean break, he can definitely has the talent to wire the field. There is a lot of speed in this race, and they're all clumped on the inside. So it's going to be really contentious for that lead. But also, I believe, won in the slop, right?
Yep, has won a couple times on the wet track. And with the inside draw, he'll be going. He'll have to deal with a couple, though, like you pointed out, maybe Encino, maybe Awesome Aaron, a couple other speed horses. Right next door is the 2 Catalia Strike, who comes off of back-to-back wins at Laurel. Another one, though, who's been facing softer company and is going to step up and face a lot tougher horses in here.
Yeah, this is a local horse who's never run at Pimlico, but running in the local circuit his entire career. He's been in great form lately, like you said, coming off a couple of wins. One of them was over a wet track, but it's quite a big step up in class. So I think he would need his lifetime best effort today.
Encino had a really good year last year, and he won some prestigious races, including the Lexington. This year, he's actually been pretty solid. He's kind of taken a step forward, and he comes off of a very good effort over at Turfway Park, where he finished second. I think he fits with this group. The only thing that worries me a little bit is the running style. You were just kind of pointing out, Phileas Fogg is quick, Encino is quick, Awesome Aaron is quick. So I think he fits with this group. I just don't know if he's going to get the type of trip that he needs.
Yeah, and his best figures are on the synthetic, but he's won on the dirt multiple times too. I think he's a threat. I think if he beats Phileas Fogg to the lead and gets the upper hand, that would be a big advantage for him. Yeah, he's another speedster in here for sure. Very talented horse who's done a lot of hard work before in tough graded stakes races.
And as you can see on the pace projector, the 1, 3, and 4 are all supposed to be close to the front end. So the number 4, Awesome Aaron, is next up. And as you were pointing out, it's kind of like what happened in the Kentucky Derby a few weeks ago, right? You had all those speed horses drawn down to the inside, Citizen Bull, Neo Equus, you had American Promise. They were all down there, these fast horses, and they all go kind of push each other. 1 or 2 gets left. I just feel like they're probably going to be pushing each other a little bit. Of the speed horses, I probably prefer him the least of like the 3 that we've talked about.
Same. It's been a long time since this horse has run in stakes company, but he ran such a big race last out. So I understand the placing, but I agree. Really tough just how the race drew with all these speedsters in here. And I think the distance might be a little bit longer than he really wants.
Time for Trouble is on the opposite end of the spectrum, right? He's the number 5, and you see his chiclet way towards the back. So he's going to be one of the horses that's probably slow early, hopes they go fast, and tries to run them all down late. Do you give him a shot in here?
Yeah, he's going to stay out of the drama, right? He'll just kind of hang back. He'll tuck in, get a comfortable placing, gets tracking that pace. He's won close to 700,000 as an 8-year-old though. So it's been running for a long time. I really feel like if they had run this horse more at his level instead of constantly pushing him over his head in graded stakes, he probably could have had a lot higher earnings. I think this is too tough a spot for him.
Just Steel is the next one. I thought his race at Churchill most recently, it actually really wasn't that bad in the Churchill Downs, going 7 furlongs against a really tough group. But now he'll stretch back out to a mile and 3/16. I just don't know what to do with him because he's kind of going now from a sprint back to long. I think they're just trying to figure out where he's best because he hasn't really been able to put it together like he did last year.
Yeah, it was a really big deal last year, right? He ran in the Arkansas Derby, the
He was
Kentucky
second.
Derby, and the Preakness. So, after the Preakness, they gave him 9 months off. He's run 4 times this year now without hitting the board. He's coming back on short rest too because he ran in the Grade 1 Churchill on Derby Day. I think he's a bit over his head. He's also run 5 times on a wet track and never won, so he might not like the weather either.
I think the outside 3 horses all have a lot of chance in this race. Remember, the 7 Pyrenees will just kind of go over quickly because they're going to scratch him. But the 8 Star of Wonder comes off of a recent win. He's won 4 of 5. He's lightly raced. He is upside, and he's got a little versatility to him. I think he's shown that he can sit off the pace. We don't really know how good he is, though, because he's going to step up and face Stakes Company. But I think he could get a good trip with Pratt aboard for trainer Brad Cox. So that's going to be a horse who I'm looking towards. Alexa, what do you think about him?
He's a little bit of a wild card. He's very talented, but I mentioned we got an 8-year-old in here, which is probably pretty old, but this is a 4-year-old. So he's running against older, really more seasoned players in here, but very talented. And if he handles the class, has every right to win.
Red Route 1, the number 9, has earned over $2 million throughout his career. He's a multiple graded stakes winner. He's a horse who you know what you're going to get. He's going to drop back. He might be dead last like they have him on the Chiclet, but if they go fast early, he will come and run them all down. So, I think he's one of those horses you probably want to use because of that.
Yeah, and he's very familiar with Pimlico. He ran in the Preakness 2 years ago and then ran in this race last year.
He ran 4th. Not bad, right?
Exactly. Yeah. And has since won a couple of Grade 3s. So, he has some really eye-catching performances recently. And like you said, he's going to get a fast pace to run at. I think it'll set up nicely.
Rounding out the field is San Siro. It doesn't seem like distance is a problem for him. He's won at this trip. He may have to improve just a little, but I don't think he's completely overmatched in here coming off his runner-up effort. What'd you think about the 10?
I think his speed figures are generally too low to compete with this field. Every now and then he pops up and runs a banger, but against this really salty field, I just would want to see that more as the rule than the exception.
Before we move to the break, let's check selections. Alexa, 1, 9, 8, 3 for you. I'm going to be going with the 8, 9, 10, and 3 for my selection. So I'll put that one on top, but however you play them, we wish you the best of luck. It's double time when we return. Saturday with the Preakness coming up, so you'll want to check out the wagering guide that we have for you. All you have to do is scan the QR code. It'll take you right to a bunch of information, horse by horse analysis for the Preakness, all sorts of stuff throughout the earlier card. You'll get selections and analysis from a bunch of your different daily racing form expert handicappers. So all the information you need, you want to take it all in and absorb it, be a sponge, and then you can make your decisions when it comes time for the wagers. Alexa, let's talk about how we're going to wager on a couple of these races. There's a daily double that combines today's 13th race, the Black Eyed Susan, with the Saturday 13th race, the Preakness. So we can put daily double tickets together with those 2 races. I think when you're playing a daily double, it's like a parlay, just like a 2-team parlay. You want to be, in particular, in like racing, a little careful because, like, in this way we're setting it up, if you're someone who likes journalism a little bit and you think journalism might win, your ticket probably won't pay out a whole lot. So you may not want to spend a ton on your ticket and just not have, because you won't have a great return on your investment. So sometimes on top of how you think the race is going to play out, wagering strategy is even different, right? You can like a team or like a horse or like a player, but not make money on the wagers. It's sort of half the battle here. So how are you going to put your double together? Which horses did you want to use coming out of the Black Eyed Susan?
Yeah, so I am singling journalism in the second leg. So because of that, I couldn't use, because I mentioned in the segment, the first segment, I think this is a tough race in the Black Eyed Susan. And if I liked a horse at a little bit longer odds in the Preakness, I probably would have used 5 horses in here and singled into a 5
just to make sure you get to that horse, right? You want to make sure that if your horse wins that you really like, you capitalize on it and you take advantage.
Exactly. but it's not the case. I think the favorite's probably going to win the Preakness. So for that reason, I did go with 3 horses in here. I'm using Margie's Intention. We talked about this horse a lot. It was both Gino and my first selection in the race. It's the one who's that first out with trainer Brad Cox, who wins 41% of the time. And just this race is just setting up really nicely for her. I also use the 6 Paris Lily and the 7 Reply, which are both 8-to-1s or plus 800 horses. So that gives a little potential value add to the ticket. The cost of these tickets are you multiply the number of horses. So 3 horses over 1 horse, 3 times 1 is a $3 ticket. So I think even if Margie's Intention, who's the lowest odds horse, wins and Journalism wins, I'd at least break even. We won't lose any money. And then if I get one of the longer ones in, the 6 or the 7, we can, maybe double or triple our money if we're lucky.
So Alexa's ticket with these daily doubles, they're not very much. It was just a $3 based wager.
You could play it 10 times. You could play it for $30.
That's what you do with the smaller wagers, right? If you have wagers like that, whatever your bankroll is, if you're looking for like $20, something you want to play it around that, then you play it as many times as would equal up to 20. So for Alexa, it's the 3 Margie's Intention, the 6 Kinsey Queen, and the 7. Or the 6 Paris Lily and the 7 Reply. And those 2, the 6 and the 7, both are very fair prices. So either one of them winning could give Alexa a nice little return on her investment. We can move to the double that I've put together for you, just $2. And because I like Margie's Intention, like if it were to come Margie's Intention Journalism, probably wouldn't pay all that much. So I didn't want to spend a bunch and use a couple extra horses and double my ticket up in the Black-Eyed Susan, because I wanted to make sure I had one other horse in the Preakness just in case. Completely respect Journalism. I think if he shows up with his best effort, it is going to be a situation where everyone else is running for second. But I try to compare it to what goes on in like sports. I know a lot of people watching this show, I've been watching the NBA playoffs, right? We see load management in sports nowadays where players don't play as much back-to-back games. Pitchers in baseball, they don't pitch as often. They get more days in between their starts and their outings. And that's happened a little bit in horse racing. We just don't see horses run back as quickly. That's why Sovereignty is not running in the Preakness, because his trainer and their connections don't think him coming back in 2 weeks would be good for him. So I think if Journalism loses the race, I think that's the reason why he loses. I think it's because 2 weeks turnaround, he may not have as that same energy level that he has always had. And if he gets beat because of that, I wanted to use a new face, because that's my whole reasoning. Like I'm not going to use the horses who ran a couple weeks ago if I think Journalism's going to lose. I would use River Thames, who's kind of that fresh face who decided to skip the Derby and point to the Preakness, Alexa. So I put my double together with Margie's Intention, and then I threw in River Thames along with Journalism.
I like River Thames a lot. And if you go back and you look at historically horse racing, horses did used to run a lot more frequently than they do now. And I think just as racing becomes more and more competitive, your horse just has to be in such a prime condition in order to win at these high levels. And so that's why you see horses, you don't see as many coming back on such short rest.
We always love helping you out, and hopefully we could lead you in the right directions a couple times today. Make sure to check out DRF.com, shop.drf.com for everything you need. We'll be back again next week on another edition of the Daily Racing Form Weekend Preview.